I've always been interested in, I guess, natural ecosystems and the quality of those ecosystems, and I see sort of human reliance on those ecosystems as sort of fundamentally what we assume when we carry on our daily life. I got involved in UNES shortly after I moved up here because I was looking for an environmental or ecosystem or stewardship type group when I moved here, because I tend to join these kinds of groups anyhow wherever I go, and I found UNES and decided to just start to be involved in them. So UNES stands for UniverCity Neighbors for Environmental Sustainability. And one of the main things we've been involved in is plant rescues when they're starting to build new buildings here up on the hill. So I've been involved in 2 plant rescues so far on parcels just before they're about to chop down all the trees and dig a big hole in the ground for the foundation. So we put out a call to the community. The SFU Trust helps out too. So SFU Trust, collaborating with UNES, has put out promotions to get people to come and take anything they want from those lots in order to save them. The Stanley Park Ecology Society also has come and taken trees. So they regularly come when there's plant rescues to take out any species that are there. There's very few or none that I know of special species, rare species on the hill, because it's been forested. It's had people around and on it for so long that there's really nothing special here, but there are lots of trees that can be transplanted to different places to good use. So we've transplanted a number. UNES has transplanted a number into Richard Bolton Park, for example, and as well people have taken them for their own patio gardens up on the hill here, and then we've had people who live down below the hill who put them in their own gardens, or sometimes just put them back in another forest. And it apparently needs to be a nearby forest for it to be more ecologically sound. So there's several plants in my little garden patio that have come from the forests, from those forest rescues. UNES and its partners, who might be other environmental organizations, as well as the existing organizations on the hill, maybe even the business associates in Cornerstone and the Hub, and the future business associates in the buildings that don't yet exist, I think could do an awful lot to advise sort of future building practices and future planning practices in UniverCity in a number of ways. Just as an example, having some wildlife corridors. Now, again, I'm not a wildlife expert, but my understanding is it doesn't take a lot of corridor land to actually support a fair bit of wildlife compared to when there's no corridors at all. So it would be a more vital ecosystem with wildlife corridors, for example. There's a lot of education that can go on as well. So, for example, an idea which that came to my mind a while ago, which I happen to be thinking about this morning as well, is helping UniverCity residents understand how to plant their gardens with native species, and the difference between native species and non-native species in those little gardens. Yes, each of them are very little because we don't have a lot of garden space. We don't have single-family homes, but each one adds up so that the native species will support the insects and birds and butterflies and slugs that survive here, whereas the non-native species, depending on the species, can be quite adverse for those insects. Insects can't live on them, and birds can't use them. So that alone, that education piece, could be quite important as well. The other thing I think UNES could do, UNES and its partners could do, is work all of its partners, including the city, SFU Trust, the builders. So we have a variety of different developers who are development companies who are on the Hill, can all work, I think, with the university and the students and faculty members here to just, I think, map more of the ecosystem that does exist here, and then using best practices in ecosystem management to help design those developments, both at the design, building, and whatever is called living in stage in the development. So there's, I think, just so many different possibilities, right from sort of the individual plant level to the species level to the sort of whole ecosystem and, you know, kind of development community level, that that there can be involvement. Great. So in front of my house, I think once or twice every night in the middle of the night, about 4 o'clock in the morning, a sprinkler system comes on to water the water beds, the flower beds. And where mine is situated is right beside a stormwater grate. There's sort of irregular stormwater grates all over the entire development. Mine happens to be in front of my patio. When that water turns on, I'd say about half of it goes straight into the stormwater system. So there's a giant water supply system that's being built in the Mount Seymour area. It's like the largest infrastructure project in the entire Lower Mainland to supply water to us at great cost. And it's actually unmetered, so I don't even pay for it. So I use much more, say if I'm a typical person, I use much more water because I don't have to pay for it. Comes out of the sprinkler system and goes directly into the stormwater system. So we've really smashed up a lot of our natural environment to build a system to supply the water. We're using electricity, which also has a big environmental impact to supply, to pump the water to our sprinkler system. Then it goes into the stormwater system, and I've just learned there's a very advanced stormwater treatment system going on, which also takes a fair bit of resources to deal with, and then that's pumped into Stoney Creek. So interestingly, we're using an awful lot of energy for this water to come from somewhere and to go somewhere and not actually be used in any useful way by any human being or even a plant. So that's an example of a very little thing. It's only one little sprinkler in an entire sprinkler system, but I'm guessing that a lot of things like that are going on where people haven't really designed it through carefully. So the people who put in the stormwater grates and decide where they go are a completely different crew and decision-making process, in fact, than the people who decide where to put the sprinklers and the sprinkler system. And it's unfortunate that's just how it's been designed, two different systems that didn't talk to one another. I think studying in a local environment allows you to go a lot deeper into a subject than if you're studying something either from afar or you're visiting only, say, for a week or two. So you probably can't afford to stay in Nevada for, say, 4 months if you're only getting 3 credits. But you can stay on the Hill. And so if you learn about the broader ecosystems and the different components of that ecosystem and what different components mean, then every day when you're walking around the campus, you'll be able to see things that are part of that ecosystem and understand its relevance to the larger picture. If you're studying an ecosystem in Nevada, the factors will be very, very different, and you won't be able to go nearly as deep. You can really see how the ecosystem comes together, how one bit affects another bit, and how, say, what we do on this hill affects what happens further down the hill. So every time you flush a toilet up here, you actually are affecting the Stoney Creek watershed. And if you're studying locally, you can make that connection, but if you're studying it in Nevada, you might not make that connection.